First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, and spring masters, and everyone here today for this opportunity to start off this XinMin, the new year for 2023, 2024 XinMin class. Now, I think most of the class members are, well, are left over from, are still the same class members from last year. There were a few who went on, completed the class, all the requirements, the testing, and so they are now going on to the sun, the next level class. But so, and then I think we also have, we may have some new class members in this year's XinMin. So, all right, so XinMin, what we call the XinMin is the, I guess we translate it as the new member class. Okay, so it's basically new people coming in. Now, this is part of a 5-year course, okay? Ultimately, it's to train speakers and lecturers, okay? That's really the goal, okay? However, not everyone, not everyone can become a speaker or a lecturer, right? It just, yeah, not, all right. So, but, okay, so this is kind of like the normal progression here. Like we receive the Tao, okay, the Tao blessing. Now, sometimes we may have attended or heard some classes, but those classes normally would not be part of the 5-year course classes. Okay, so they would not be the XinMin or Zhisan or Peida or any of the ones above. Okay, so because those are there are certain requirements to attend these classes. And so the other types of class that you might have heard is just I don't know what you call it, like just a regular kind of class to kind of introduce Tao cultivation and all that to people, right? Then the next step after receiving the Tao blessing is to attend the Dharma class. This is for us, for our temple, it's a 2-day class, okay, 2 days. And then where it's, because most people who receive the Tao blessing and then they attend the Dharma class, basically they're very new, okay? That the Dharma class is basically the first class that they attend after receiving the Tao blessing. And so the topics in the Dharma class are kind of very general, I guess, general, broad, and introductory. And I mean, kind of covers a certain spectrum, I guess, of the topics. But there is kind of a progression, okay, from the beginning, like the true meaning of life, to understanding that all the way to the end, where we awaken, to faith, vows, cultivation, practice, or achievement. Okay, so all these things. But it's kind of give us an idea of what this Tao is, what this cultivation is about, why we're doing it, okay? And at the end of that Dharma class, we take, well, for most people, well, I guess maybe today, now it's pretty much without exception, we only allow class members to take 2 vows, the first 2 vows, right? There are a total of 6 for Dharma class vows, but we only allow them to take the first 2. Those first 2 are very simple, basic. So the first one is to prioritize the holy over the mundane, okay? Or, yeah, I mean, you can say it's to prioritize the Tao over ourselves, or over the self, right? Or prioritize others over the self. That's you can kind of look at it that way too. So in other words, it's really trying to let go of our own attachments, things like that, okay? And gradually work towards being, non-self, no self, okay? And so, but this is very general and very like the basic level. So in other words, I mean, but we do it in more practical terms, or I mean, somehow sometimes we explain and say, yeah, you know, you spend more time, try to, when you have a choice, you know, spend it, you know, go to the temple when if there's a class or activity there, it's where you can help out and learn um, uh, over doing other things. Okay, and then the second vow is to give or perform, right? And then there's two parts: charity through financial and material means, and teaching or guidance, you know, to the path of enlightenment. So, you know, teaching and guiding others about the Tao, about, you know, getting on this path of enlightenment, of cultivation. And of course, charity, you know, that's also a very basic thing to do. All right. So these are kind of like the foundations. Actually, when we received the Tao, we also made 10, what we call the 10 great vows. Okay, so those are, so we start off, which is kind of unusual, right? In religions, usually you don't take vows right away, but in the Tao, it's different. When you see the Tao, you already take vows. You take 10 vows. And then the Dharma, you know, so as it progresses, as you progress, you take more vows. The idea is that, well, vows are very important, right? To what? Achieving that, you can say enlightenment, achieving Buddhahood. Okay, so that's why all the vows are, you know, we take so many vows. And so, but, you know, when we see the Tao, we probably didn't know we took the vows, or we didn't know what those vows were. So that's why these classes are there to kind of, we'll talk about them, kind of explain them as well, among many other topics of, you know, learning the basics of the Tao, kind of is getting a foundation of what Tao is, what cultivation is, you know, how we go about cultivating, right? Okay, so, and then after the Dharma class, then we can attend the 5-year course. I guess there's also I guess what we call what's that, talent class, something like that, talent progress class. That's kind of like a Dharma class, but it's after the Dharma class, and I guess you can take that. Well, you can take that. It comes after the Dharma class, but it doesn't necessarily have to come before the XinMin, the new member class. Okay, it can come. You can attend that after as well. But okay, so and then that's also like a 2-day class, right? So, but we're talking about the 5-year course, right? So the first year is what we call XinMin, or new member. Okay, as the name suggests, it's the new people coming in after the Dharma class. You know, they hopefully, you know, they're inspired, they're motivated from the Dharma class, right? And also having taken those 2 vows, they should start learning how to fulfill those vows, okay, put it into practice. So XinMin, this is where we start. And then the next one, and then so, you know, each level in the course involves, obviously there's learning, right? The typical some knowledge, but there's also, and hopefully there's comprehension, more understanding of the Tao, of cultivation, of what we call, you know, Buddha nature, or true nature, or true self, right? And understanding all the principles of the Tao, right, because these are the things that guide us and affect us in everyday life. And so, so these things, and then there's so we kind of have some tests, you know, testing at the end, and which is very basic stuff. You know, you do some basic knowledge, and also there are proprieties, right? In the temple, we have proprieties, where you can say these proprieties are, you know, like the rituals or ceremonies. Okay, so they're being performed just like when we receive the Tao. there were these announcers on the left and right, and then they were announcing things and kind of this going through this procedure, right? The ceremony. So those are proprieties, and so we learned some proprieties in the XinMin. We learned the most basic propriety, which is the arrival and departure propriety that we should, by the end of the class, by the end of the year, right? We should learn. I mean, we should know how to do. Okay. And then so Zishan, then you go to Zishan. Once you pass, then you go to Zishan, which is, you can say, perfecting virtues. And at this point, I guess you could say you can be a candidate for taking the staff member vow. Okay, so I think in the past, yeah, people after the XinMin have taken it, but that's possible. The problem is, okay, right now we have our classes online, right? There's Zoom, so we don't really have, at least for this English XinMin and Zishan, we don't have it in person. But it's very important to really be in the temple and I guess in that environment to learn and to practice, and more importantly, to practice. And so maybe for us, if we're just doing things online, it'll take a little bit longer to really be ready to be like a staff member. I mean, obviously, it doesn't make sense to be a staff member if you don't go to a temple to help be a staff member, right? I mean, that's the whole point. Okay, so obviously, even though, okay, so I'll say that even though we have online classes, we definitely encourage and definitely recommend that you do come to the temple when it's open. When there is the activity, that you come and participate and learn and practice. Okay. All right, and then the next year again, so each level will, there'll be more things that you have to know, more proprieties that you need to know, be able to recite, or at least be able to conduct, or to perform, and then also more knowledge. Okay, so in the Peta, the third level is nurturing virtues, which is, there's some simple speaking at this point. Before that, there isn't really any, but basically introduction to Tao and explaining the three treasures. Okay, so those are some very basic things that you could say like a temple host would do, right? A temple host is someone who's, I mean, they're a staff member, okay, that basically either they have their own home temple or they're associated with the public temple, and they basically are a staff member in that public temple, and so they have certain responsibilities, duties, and so they should learn how to be able to speak about the Tao, to introduce the Tao. When someone is come in, is going to receive the Tao, right? Yeah, you kind of explain things a little bit, and then also after they receive the Tao, to explain the three treasures to them. Okay. And then so and then as you go up these, the requirements also increase, right? And then the next level is Xingde, which is practicing virtues, where there are more practice lectures, obviously more learning and proprieties. And then finally the Spenda, the 5th year, flourishing virtues, what we call it. Of course, there's more practice lectures and also directing, things like that. And these are then finally, after the 5 years, if you're able to complete everything, including all the testing, then you're a candidate for taking the speaker vow. Okay, being a speaker, not a lecturer. So it's the difference between speaker and lecturer. Speaker actually does not. Well, all right. Now it's kind of too early to get into that, but it doesn't matter. All right. So this is just kind of like give you an overview of the whole process there. Now, not everyone can graduate from the course, but at least you can attend and learn as much as you can. Okay, so if you start in the XinMin as a class member, and you work your way up, but somewhere along the way, maybe you won't be able to pass the testing and all that. But you can still continue to learn. Okay, you can still attend class, but you won't be efficient. Like if you go to if let's say you get up to let's say it's XinMin. Okay, so this is the first. Let's say you complete that. Okay, you can decide, and from Zishan, let's say if you can't complete it, then you stay there as a class member, but you can still, like, if you wanted to kind of attend and listen to the next level up class. But again, you won't be able to, take the test or complete or anything like that. So it's just at that point, it's just kind of just for your personal learning. Okay. All right, so what are the requirements for being an official class member at the XinMin class? All right, so we have to have received the Dao blessing. Okay, so that's the most fundamental thing. And you have to be like 16 years of age or older. Okay, so that's actually the requirement for attending the Dharma class. All right, so, and then you have to graduate from the 2-day Dharma class and take in the first 2 vows, right? Which we just talked about up here. Okay. Also, I add this, we really should be sincere about being a class member, about studying, about learning, and wanting to progress in the Tao cultivation. Okay, so we should have that sincere intention. Now take it seriously and commit to attending class, learning, studying, practicing, and following the rules. And complete all the requirements for graduation. Okay, so these include, certain attendance, I think it's 70%, and classwork. Well, for the most part, in XinMin, there's no real class. There's no real homework. Let's put it that way. Although we would encourage everyone to actually, when they listen to the classes, to actually take notes, right? Take notes. It's too easy to just sit there and listen, and it just goes in one year, and then eventually goes out the other year, and you forget everything. Okay, so by taking notes, that's why you do that in school, right? Take notes. It helps you to remember. Okay, and and then, of course, we would also encourage you to ask questions if you're not sure about something or you need clarification. Although we don't normally open it up, have free, where people can ask questions at any time. It's usually at the end of the lecture that we can entertain questions. And then again, the proprieties that we have to know, okay, for the particular class, and then basically a cultivation aspect. Cultivation aspect is basically about our daily cultivation. It's hard to test. Don't really test this. Right? It's just like saying it's just more a reminder for ourselves that be aware that these are things that we should keep in mind when we're cultivating. Okay. And we'll go over this. It's important that, again, I emphasize this sincere intention, right, to attend class, etc. Because, even though, let's say we qualify in terms of these things here for having, to be registered in a class, but if we do not attend class, if we don't take it seriously, we don't really learn, study, and practice, then what you put into it is what you get out of it. So you're not going to get anything out of it, and you won't benefit from it. And not only that, okay, later on there's benefit to others, your ancestors as well. Okay, but we have to really pay attention in class, right? And, it's harder on when we're on Zoom, right? If people are at home, they're watching, and actually, I can say that like in Taiwan, our headquarters temple, they basically require that when you attend these online classes, to wear the uniform. Okay, so yeah, again, these are the requirements, and you're basically encouraged. Okay, we always encourage people to become vegetarian or vegan, right? That's. I mean, we don't require it. Although, yeah, okay, later on, when you take certain vows, like for example, a temple host, okay, temple host, well, okay, yeah, temple host as opposed to I guess, a vice temple host, I guess, and also a lecturer, they have to be vegan. As part of their vow, there's the vegan or vegetarian vow. Okay, so but we encourage because as we know, why are we cultivating, right? To be vegetarian. I mean that's one of the foundations of cultivation, really. Because it shows our commitment, you could say, to compassion, for all, respect for all living beings, right? Okay, so then the class work and attendance, we have to attend at least 70%. That's 28 classes. We have a total, the class year is 40 classes, okay, 40 sessions, and you have to be in attendance for 28 of them. Now, if you miss 10 minutes or more of a class, then that doesn't count. Okay, so the idea is that we should be, attending class on time. And when we're in class, we should not like, suddenly I remember I need to go buy something, and you go off some, leave the class. Okay, so you shouldn't do that, right? However, we do allow, if we happen to miss class because we can't make it that day, or hopefully it's a good reason, that we can make it up. Well, we should make it up within the week, and it'll be probably administered. But basically, it'll be a recording of the class that you'll be reviewing, and within a week. Okay, it's time. Once you do that, then your attendance will count, right? So sometimes, okay, so this 10-minute rule, yeah, I mean, obviously, we should be punctual, okay, but if there's some special circumstance that we're late, or we have to leave early, emergency, whatever. We can report it to the director and the master in charge for consideration. But most likely we should still like make up the class anyways, because we've missed some important points, okay, in class, right? So we encourage you to always try to make it up anyways. Now, since we're so here we have these rules in there about people playing with their phones during class. Okay, so that's kind of more applies to the in-person class. But still, when we're online, yes, we're at home, or if we're not listening in the temple, then we have more distractions. And so we would advise you to try to maybe just lock yourself in a room so you don't get distracted by other things, by other people, whatever. And yeah, don't just pay attention, focus on what you're seeing, of the class. Okay. So it says you're encouraged, right? We encourage you to take notes. Just for now, just the key points in the lectures. Okay. You don't have to like write a whole full report summary. Just again, this is for your own good. Okay, for your own learning, so you remember and you can refer back, because again, a lot of stuff we hear we may forget, and this is the best way to remember that. and you can refer back to your notes. And again, you're encouraged to ask questions, participate in discussions. I always say to people who receive the Tao that they should ask questions, right? Don't just accept things as they are, and especially people have doubts or anything like that. There are questions in their mind. You need to address those. Okay. Otherwise, that ultimately will affect your faith in the Tao, right? Okay. So now we get to the tests. So once we have to meet the class requirement, and then now the test. So testing basically is, again, this is normally, yeah, you think of tests at the end of the year, but because when there are a lot of people, you gotta get people tested at the end of the year, then it takes time, right? So ideally, it can be done kind of spread throughout the year. After we've, let's say, covered the topic. And then, you practice. Okay, so for example, the proprieties, right? There's only one that we really have to know here in XinMin. The new member class is the arrival and departure propriety. Okay, so this is like the propriety that we must do every time we come to the temple and when we leave the temple. Okay, so this is okay. So there's basically what we have to do is know how to perform this propriety. So basically, we have the primary announcer, secondary announcer, right? Parts, which now unfortunately for non-Chinese speaking people, we have to know how to do this in Chinese. Okay, so unfortunately that's the way it is, all right? Although, yeah, we can learn, obviously what these things mean, okay, and we should know what they mean, right? So that at the very least, let's say we cannot, yeah, I mean, because we've encountered people who they just can't pronounce these Chinese words or characters correctly, or they can't even come close. Okay, so yeah, we're not really forcing you to say have good, proper pronunciation of these Chinese words. At the very least, though, because we do conduct these proprieties, these ceremonies in the temple in Chinese. Okay, they're conducted in Chinese, and therefore we should learn what they sound like. Okay, so when we hear this 走一会, right? We know what to do, right? We hear 走一, that means the full standing bow, the hands clasped, right? And 会 means kneel. So at least we know those things, right? And then when we go through the bows, right? 黎明上帝, and then we say 参加 or 辞驾. Okay, so one is arrival, one is departure. That means, we're doing these bows, in this case, Ukoso 5 bows to God, okay, Supreme Being, okay, and etc. Okay, so this basically we will, at least one of the classes, one of the topics will be talking about this, and but obviously this one will take a lot of practice on your part. Okay. You need to practice, keep listening, and keep trying to repeat what you're listening, what you're hearing, and also just understanding, what it is that what you're doing, what's being done here. Okay. Again, also, so all when you hear ukoso, right? That's 5 vowels. Iko, daiko, sango. Okay, all these things. So we have to be familiar with the sounds, right? To do that. All right. Okay, so that's yeah. I mean, so I think this is probably the hardest part of this. Well, actually, of the whole 5-year course, right? Because there are all these proprieties, and they all have to be done in Chinese. And this is the shortest one. Okay, this is the shortest one. And if you have trouble with this, then you'll definitely have hard time with the others. But that's okay. Don't be discouraged. Again, the more you listen, and practice, the better you'll be at it. I've been impressed by, non-Chinese speaking people. I've seen at other, well, even, other temple, they can do this. They can do it in Chinese, okay? And yeah, that was very impressive. Okay, so, but again, not everyone can do it, and that's fine. But just know that what the propriety is, what you're doing, and know the procedure, know how to do it. Okay, and then obviously the bowing, the kato, the bowing itself, right? You have to know how to do that properly. Okay, and those things will be covered in class too. All right, so let's move on. Well, okay, so anyways, okay, so that was the propriety. There's only this one propriety test in the XinMin. And then the other part of the testing is the knowledge, okay, what we call immortal Rees knowledge 1, okay, so, and then there's some basic knowledge that, we expect you to know. Okay, so all right, we won't go into that today, okay, so, but and those things again, they'll be kind of covered in various classes, topics, and so yeah, and maybe even yeah, okay, so and it's just, I mean, those are basically just strictly knowing like who is the grand patriarch, or that kind of stuff. Okay, so it's very very basic. Okay. But we'll have the information there. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, but we're not going to go into that, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, can you scroll down to the cultivation? Yeah. So these are okay. These cultivation things. Well, like I said, it's it's hard to test for these things because sometimes we don't. I mean, we don't know, we don't see all this stuff, right? I mean, a lot of this cultivation aspect is at home or elsewhere. Okay, so but these are reminders for us as cultivators, right? As cultivators, class members, to, for example, the first one says, I'm filial to my parents. I'm loving toward my siblings, okay? Because filial piety, as you have learned from the Dharma class, is very important. It's the highest, you can say it's the highest virtue, all right? So that's something that we must do. Then, are my actions consistent with my words? Okay. Am I sincere in my heart and respectful to others? Do I follow 15 temple precepts, okay, or rules and regulations? All right. So these are kind of reminders for ourselves as we progress and we're cultivating and we're learning, right? That we need to keep these in mind and to follow, to practice that. Okay, so do I revere the Tao and respect the enlightened masters? Do I follow protocol in dealing with seniors and juniors? Right, these are all very important to the you can say a good functioning temple or Tao society. Okay. And actually they are also very important in our own cultivation. Okay, so for us to achieve in cultivation, yeah, we must do these things. Right? Do I appreciate the grace of heaven and virtue of masters at all times? Okay, so these basically, we can't take anything for granted, right? Everything, yeah, besides the mundane stuff, the things that we think, are due to these the worldly things, it's really heaven's grace and the master's virtues that, at least in the Tao, right, for us to be able to receive the Tao and everything, cultivation. So these are things that we have to appreciate. Am I humble and harmonious? Again, this is the foundation of being a good cultivator as well, right? Do I have manners in dealing with others? Okay, so and how we deal with others, right? It's very important. Do I serve the Tao and warmly serve Tao King? Okay, so this again, you can say this is also related to being humble and harmonious, but also, yeah, being caring for other the Daokin, the members of the temple, and to learn to serve others. Okay, so remember that Dharma class vow, right? To prioritize the Tao or others before ourselves. Okay, so we need to learn how to serve others. All right. Do I learn to fill out the Tao Blessing registration form? Okay, so this and this is related to the do I learn to ferry and guide or motivate people? Okay, so basically when we ferry people to receive the Tao, right? Then there is this, we always, just like we did, there's the Tao Blessing registration form that we fill out, put our name, our full name, and all that stuff, our merit fee, right? So we can help as when we ferry other people, we can help, help them fill that out as well. Okay, so this is just again, just getting into the practice of in the temple of doing things, right? And then we're encouraged to wear a uniform and keep a neat appearance, all right? At the XinMin, this is the first year class, we don't require that. In the Zisan, in the next class, yeah, we do require that. Okay, so then people should start wearing the uniform. Now, it's also we encourage to study. Do I study the true nature, holy scriptures, and sutras? Okay, so this, yeah, maybe it's kind of early in the Xingyin, but this is what we're studying. What we're studying is our true nature. What is our true nature? Buddha nature. Okay, and to kind of study the scriptures and sutras. All right, and then finally the graduation requirements. Okay, so we have to meet all the above requirements for the classwork, attendance, and pass all those tests. Well, there's not, yeah, pass those tests. And then finally, basically the transmitter, the lecturer, and directors will evaluate and decide if the class member is qualified to graduate. Pretty much if they, pass the test and, in terms of the cultivation aspect there, it's okay, then yeah, then they can pass. Okay, all right, so let me go back to sharing. Okay, so that was this. Now, there are benefits to being an official class member. So, basically we can get the most out of studying and progressing in Tao cultivation as an official class member. Yes, yeah, although we can, let's say, listen to recordings of classes or, just audit class. But really those are not as good as, being an official class member. Why? Okay, so I mean, we also learn because basically you want to commit, right? You're sincere about it and you commit to it, right? And we can learn to fulfill our vows, right? In these through these classes, through learning and also the practice. We can also pay off some of our karmic debts, okay, if we attend the classes. Now, of course, we should be diligent in class. We should not be, fooling around or, wasting time in class or, not paying attention. So, we have to be, diligent in our learning. Okay. And also, importantly, we can benefit our ancestors, right? But we can only benefit them as much as we benefit ourselves. In other words, if we're not diligent, we slack off. If we don't pay attention, we don't care to learn or practice the proprieties or whatever, learn the knowledge, then our ancestors can't benefit, right? If we fall asleep in class, we're not listening, the ancestors can't. Normally, they can, basically, they are here in spirit, okay? In these official classes, they are, when the class member is attending, they are also in attendance, okay? And they're listening, they're in, here in spirit. But if the class member is not paying attention or falling asleep or whatever, then the ancestors do not benefit, okay? So we should also think about them, right? Don't just think about ourselves, right? Okay. Now I have a note here, important note, that an online class is not a true substitute for an in-person class, right? Because we have class members in other states, This is the only way to accommodate them. However, Tao is not just book learning and knowledge, right? Which you can do anywhere online, it is both comprehension and practice. And one of the best ways to progress is to learn and practice in the temple environment, like I said earlier. And certainly those proprieties, even though you may be able to memorize them, it's another story to actually put it into practice when you're in the temple and you're doing the bows and going through the whole in that environment. Okay, it's a different story. So that's why we do recommend that you have to, or I think that's kind of strong, but really, it's we really do need to go to the temple once in a while, at least, at least once a month, let's say, to practice, okay, and to be in that environment where it's more conducive for your cultivation and practice, okay. Now, people who do not meet all the requirements for being a class member can still listen to the class, but they will not get credit and won't get the same benefits, okay. Now, but for these 5-year course, okay, actually you still must meet the two basic requirements, which is to have received, of course, to have received the Tao and to have graduated from the Dharma class. Now, we have a situation, let me see. Yeah, we have basically, because of the pandemic, right? We started doing the online class, and also because of the pandemic, we didn't have, the temple wasn't open. We didn't have Dharma classes for a few years, like 3 years. Okay, and so we allowed people who did not attend the Dharma class to be a class member in the XinMin, in the XinMin class, the new member class. So now the problem is, okay, so there are still a few of these people who have not attended the Dharma class, and they are in the XinMin class. Now, what the Tao Center has decided is that we are probably going to have, basically a Dharma class in November. Now, normally it's a Chinese Dharma class, but if there are sufficient, English Tao members, that we can also potentially do the English as well. Okay, that if they are in, if these class members who have not attended the Dharma class before, if they attend that November Dharma class, then they can continue to be a class member. Otherwise, if they still do not attend the Dharma class in November, then unfortunately, they will be removed from being a class member. I mean, they can still, I guess, they may still be able to listen, I guess, but they won't be a class member anymore. Okay, so then you lose all those benefits of being a class member, right? So that's should be motivation for these people to, to attend the Dharma class, right? Okay, so finally, I guess I'll say, okay, so I think I mentioned this, if we have very low or no attendance or not diligent in study and practice, then we will not benefit ourselves or our ancestors. Okay, so it's it doesn't make sense to just register and your name on, be on the class member list and then but not show up. Then you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're definitely not helping your ancestor. Okay. We must remember that we have taken vows when we received the Tao blessing and when we graduated, should be graduated from Dharma class. Okay. Yeah. So attending the class, the XinMin, the class, diligently learning, studying, and practicing, progressing in Tao cultivation is the way to that. Or it's how we can start to fulfill our vows, right? When we take these vows, we have to fulfill the vows. That is really the only way for us to achieve, achieve the full benefit, so to speak, of receiving Tao, right? To be able to transcend the cycle of life and death and rebirth. Okay. Yeah, and so by fulfilling the vows, we can do that. And of course, the cultivation aspect of our own, personal cultivation of our virtues, that's also the other, that's one of the other aspects of that. Okay, so that's basically it. Now, we have the just the English design. Okay, so this is the first time we have it this year because right. So we had some people graduating from XinMin last year, this past year. So we're going to design, and that's going to be starting at 8 o'clock. And so we're going to have to end this meeting soon, very soon. But if there are any questions, I mean, we can ask right now, I guess. Otherwise, we're gonna kind of end this class. Actually, what we should do is maybe, yeah, okay, yeah. So see if there's any questions about this. Any people understand, what they're into here in the XinMin class, the requirements. Okay, so if there is nothing else, then yeah, if I said anything wrong, I ask the Buddhas, saints for forgiveness, and ask my spring master lecturers for their corrections. Thank you.